You're watching Tea Time right here on Plus TV Africa, where the big stories live. You know how we do things right here? We bring you some of the most interesting stuff from around the world of entertainment. I'm Tukumbo Taiwo, and I'm here with Elsie Godwin and Ife Oshunkeye. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, what's new? What's hot?
There's no star this afternoon.
There's no star. I'm very...
Oh
dear. Okay, so what's new?
Basically, I think we should talk about Trevor Noah and the fact that he jumped on the bandwagon of everybody who found it very hilarious about what the Minister of Agriculture said about Nigerians.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't please button your shirts and they don't pay for pepperoni.
Okay, so Elsie, what do you have to say?
What do I have to say?
Yes.
We need to have a, I need to have a one-on-one conversation with the Minister of Agriculture. Then I would share my
If are you going to, what do you want to do?
I just think it's very ridiculous, even though some people are actually
saying it's true,
attesting to it, that it actually happens. Some people are so rich and power drunk that they actually do stuff like that.
Not just power drunk, they're probably attached to the pizza. There are things you just...
Well, when this came up, somebody in the newsroom actually gave an example of a friend who was doing a birthday, his birthday in Port Harcourt, and ordered donuts, the popular Lagos donuts, and sent it all the way to Port Harcourt.
That's different. You don't have that donuts branch in Port Harcourt. I think I know the donuts you're talking about.
So you should.
They don't have that branch in Port Harcourt, so it's understandable.
All right. Interesting, hilarious, you know, everything that comes with Trevor.
But I think Trevor did justice to it anyway.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the main business of today. I'm pleased to announce that we do have a studio guest, and it's time to introduce that studio guest. She's a New York City-based physician, health and wellness expert, media contributor, speaker and blogger. She's also a member of the inaugural class of Bill and Melinda Gates Scholars, from advising teenagers in 17 magazine on fad diets to cautioning older adults at Reader's Digest to providing practical tips in battling various illnesses. Her expertise is absolutely wide-ranging, so much so she's been quoted and featured in numerous media outlets ranging from CNN, Forbes, Vogue, CBS News, Fox News, Glamour, and InStyle magazines, to mention a few. When she's not engaged in her medical commitments or media interviews, she's passionate about her blog, Supermodel MD, which focuses on her dedication to being a magnificent role model to others. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce the dashing Dr. Nesochi Okeke-Igbokwe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. That was an amazing welcome. I feel so wonderful about that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So good to have you on the show. Let me ask you, because this is something that strikes me very quickly. You look amazingly beautiful. You know, you could pass for a beauty queen. I'm like, what was it that led you into the medical field?
Medicine was always a passion of mine. If you ask my parents growing up, from the age of like 6 or 7, I was always saying I'm going to be a doctor no matter what. You can't stop me from doing anything else. And it was just kind of something I stuck with. It was a childhood dream and passion that came to fruition.
Wow. So let's talk about your definition of a supermodel, because I really like that. So tell us your definition of a supermodel.
So when I talk about Supermodel MD, that's just a play on words. It doesn't necessarily have to mean someone that's glamorous on the catwalk, though there's nothing wrong with that either. But it's more so about, you know, being a role model for others, being the best person that you can be, and allowing people to see those positive things in you that inspire them to be their best selves as well.
Okay, so while he was reading your bio or introducing you,
yes,
I picked on you coaching teenagers on their fat diet. Now we're in a society that everybody's sensitive.
Yes.
How do you cope with that and having to also make them understand that you're... They don't even use the word fat anymore, so how do you work on that space?
So when you're dealing with teenagers, that's a very tricky kind of situation, because this is really their formative years of development. So you don't want to say anything that's going to be really too sensitive to them either, but you want to make sure that you focus on their total well-being and let them know the kinds of things that they need to do to maintain what we call a healthy weight based on their BMIs, their body mass index. There are certain markers that everyone should really be looking at to make sure that you're healthy. A lot of times people really focus more so on just being thin or trying to have a certain body type, but everyone is born with certain genes, and your body type for the most part is kind of determined. But you just have to make sure that you're doing what you need to do to remain healthy throughout the course of your life.
Yeah. You keep up with wellness,
Yes.
beauty, and fashion trends. Give us 3 tips on all 3.
Beauty, wellness, and fashion.
Yeah. Give
Okay.
us 3 tips on all
So let's go first with fashion trends. There are certain things that people are doing that are really harmful to their overall health in general. Okay, so the first thing that I would say in regards to any fashion choice that you make sure that there's no pain involved. Okay, so lots of times, let's give an example. Shoes. We all love to wear nice shoes. Guys and girls, though, are both very much so into shoes, but what they do that's really bad sometimes is wearing extremely tight shoes, and that puts you into a situation whereby it can set you up for lots of fungal infections, issues with what we call like a subungual hematoma, meaning that you can have a collection of blood between the toenails because your shoes are so tight that there's that friction between the nail and the shoe that blood can actually collect up. So there's so many things that you do on a daily basis.
Get rid of that?
How do you get rid of the subungual hematoma?
Is that a personal problem?
How'd you get rid of that?
So,
All right, guys. sorry to cut in, but we need to go on a break. Hopefully, when we come back, you can answer that question. So
Okay.
we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching Tea Time, your favorite entertainment news program, and we're talking to health and wellness expert, Dr. Nesochi Okeke-Igbokwe. Okay, before the break, you were answering a first question, you know, so I don't know if, just in case, you know, anyone's just tuning in right now, do you want to re-ask the question and let her re-answer?
No, she's giving us 3 tips on wellness, beauty, and
Fashion. So she's on fashion right now.
No, I think she's still,
No, she's on fashion,
Yeah,
and
you're
she's
on
giving us
fashion.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still on fashion.
So we were talking about some of the things that can happen when you wear really tight shoes, and I talked about a subungual hematoma. That just means a collection of blood under the toenail because you've been wearing shoes that are so tight and there's a lot of friction between the shoe and the toes. And then you asked me, how do we treat that?
Yeah.
So there is a procedure when it is very serious that a doctor can do, whereby they actually have to drill a hole in the toenail to release a lot of the pressure due to that collection of blood that's in there.
He's dreading that already.
So you don't want to ever get to that point.
No, it's
so
not life-threatening, right?
it's not life-threatening, but it's not something that you would want to live with either. It's something that would need, you know, medical attention, and that you're not going to be able to go on a day-to-day basis in that kind of pain. It's
Is
not.
it on the same category with body odor?
It doesn't smell, I suppose.
No, it's just a collection of
Yeah.
blood that's just there that's causing a tremendous amount of pain.
No, but it... Okay, so let's move on
The
to
second
beauty.
team. No, she's not. You said 3.
Yeah.
3 on each.
Yeah.
She's given 1.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So we're still on fashion. So we're talking to anyone who wears earrings. Heavy earrings chronically can cause problems with the earlobes. I'm not sure if you've seen anyone that has a tear in their earlobes. So chronically doing that can cause problems with tears in the earlobes, and blacks in particular were more prone to having issues with keloids. So you can actually have keloid formation after you do have that tear of the earlobe. And when you do have the tear and it needs to be repaired, it usually has to be surgically, again, for you to wear the kinds of earrings that you would want to wear.
And the third one?
Third one, let's talk about the kind of underwear we wear. Okay. So if you are someone who likes to wear thong underwear a lot, that could be problematic. For the ladies, it puts you at an increased risk of certain infections, like fungal infections, or I should say yeast infections, and also bacterial infections like bacterial vaginosis. This is something that can occur if you wear thongs all the time. And the reason that is because when you're wearing a thong, it's just a thin little you know, piece of, think of it as like a thin piece of dental floss per se. That's how thin it is. So it serves as kind of a conduit or channel whereby, you know, bacteria from the anal region can actually travel to the vaginal region, causing all of these problems.
Can it cause a tear as well?
A tear?
Yeah.
I suppose if there's a lot of friction there, but for the most part, that's not really one of the issues. The infection component is one of the issues.
Okay, so let's talk about wellness.
Wellness. If we're talking about wellness, let's talk about the kinds of foods that we eat. So diet and exercise, those are the two most important components of being well and just staying as healthy as you possibly can, okay? So in regards to the foods that you're eating, first things first, try to stay away from processed foods as much as possible. Processed foods, those are things that are not in its natural forms, things that they put, you know, a lot of chemicals and different ingredients in that just is not as natural as possible. The more that you eat that, it puts you at increased risk for things like heart disease.
Right?
Canned foods, exactly. That's a good example. It's added with loads of sodium and other preservatives that aren't so great for you. Okay. Also, in regards to diet, always remember your portion control. Okay, so people always mistake if they are eating healthy that it's okay just to eat as much as they can just because it's a healthy food. But you still have to realize that the amount that you eat actually matters. And of course, it's going to be telling on the waistline as well.
Wow.
So you shouldn't overfeed.
Or overeat.
Exactly, or overeat.
Yes,
Portion control is key. A tip that you can kind of use is just look at the size of your fist. That's usually the amount that you should be eating, no more than.
Wow.
No more than.
Wow. How practical is that?
Quite a lot.
How practical.
This is quite small.
Well, I mean,
quite a lot.
There's variation in everybody's hand size, but for the most part, you should not be eating that much to make yourself feel stuffed.
But in that case, you should eat regularly or more than 3 times a day.
Are you sure go up to the shoulder level?
That's a bit much. But the point being is just don't overstuff yourself, whereby now you feel like you're in a comatose state because you've just overflooded the system with so much food.
Please clarify, because I'm still trying to get, you know, to the bottom of this. Okay, eat a handful, you know, but do you eat that 3 times a day and survive, or you eat that regularly, like every 2 hours or every 4 hours, eating that handful?
So,
don't even play with me.
so typically, it's advised that one have 3 well-rounded meals per day. And of course, it's more so realistic to snack in between, so maybe 1 to 2 snacks in between your major meals. So you're not going to overdo it at any given time, but it's never a good idea to be so extreme whereby you just eat 1 big meal a day, or you barely eat anything at all, thinking that that's going to make you healthy, or just overeating. It's all about balance and control at the end of the day.
All right. Well said. Okay.
I think this is the first time we've actually had a doctor on set, and we've been talking about depression a lot, especially in the entertainment industry. You find a lot of entertainers saying, we have to go on a break.
No, not a break. I just quickly want to, like, I have a follow-up question on the healthy eating, and then we can come to depression.
Just want to
It's your turn. Go ahead, eat.
I actually wanted to find out, you know, because I know you're currently in the US,
Yes.
you live in New York,
Yes.
you know, so what's your take on Nigerian food, you know, and what you want to avoid when it comes to trying to maintain your health, basically, with
Starchy food.
Exactly. So what should one avoid, and what should we eat regularly, and how do you find the Nigerian food generally?
So I personally enjoy Nigerian food.
Okay.
But with
your
that
favorite?
said, my favorite Nigerian food, I really like okra soup.
Okay. And is that healthy?
No, I don't do any of that either. Actually,
You just take the
I just like
okra
this. I just like the soup.
Wow.
And is the soup healthy though, or
So
it's not technically?
It depends. So what is actually healthy? Okay, let's define a healthy soup in general. What makes it healthy? Okay, when you have the vegetables in there, those are the healthy components of it. The protein, if you're putting fish in there, chicken, that's healthy as well. What's making it not so healthy? A lot of the added oils, the palm oil that you put in there.
Right.
Those kinds of things are what's contributing to making the dish not so healthy. And when you're overdoing it on that so much, that can actually cause problems as well.
Okay, and why do you avoid the starchy stuff? Like, you know, why do you avoid that?
So for me in general, I like to have a well-rounded diet. So it is good to have carbohydrates. I'm not saying to avoid all carbs, but there's such thing as good carbs and bad carbs. Exactly. And what I've noted is some of those ingredients include the bad carbs. And over time, that does do damage to the body. So if there's a way to make it with whole wheat or something that is a whole grain, then sure, that's not a problem.
But how do you make your okra soup?
So just with the okra, the onion, I will put a little bit of the oil in there, but just a little bit, not to really saturate it.
Would that be olive oil? Because I hear that's the healthiest oil, or what?
Olive oil is the healthiest oil, but it doesn't quite taste the same.
Exactly.
It's not
so do you put a touch of palm oil then?
Just a little bit, a little touch of it in there. The key is just not to overdo it on anything. Once you're overdoing it.
All right, before we run out of time, I want Ife to ask his question.
All right, so I was talking about depression because that is something that has actually begun to garner a lot of attention globally, and most especially in the entertainment industry in Nigeria. A lot of artists are saying, "No, I'm depressed," and there's a stigma that comes with it as well. So I would like you to just educate us on depression, and how do you know when you're actually depressed, and what can you do when you're depressed?
And also briefly touch on social media addiction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
great. So all of those things kind of intertwine and play a huge role in the entertainment world. But in regards to depression, when we define depression, there's certain things, signs and symptoms that you're going to want to look out for to tell you, okay, may I have an issue with a major depressive order or some kind of depressed condition or state? So one thing, if it's so difficult and hard for you to wake up every single day and your sleep patterns are off, it may be due to a depressive disorder. If you're gaining a lot of weight, overeating or not eating at all, it could be due to depression. Main thing is the way that you're feeling, okay? If you're always feeling sad, lonely, isolated all the time, and it's really causing a change in your day-to-day living activity, then that's a problem. Anything that kind of interrupts your day-to-day living and makes it kind of difficult for you to go about your normal life, that is something that can interrupt your overall well-being, and it puts you at risk for depression. So when we're talking about social media and depression, there actually is a link to that, okay? So some of the literature and studies have shown that the more social media kind of accounts or channels that you're on, the increased number increases your risk for depression. So let's say you're on 10 social media outlets at a time and you're using it constantly every day, your chances of being depressed or having anxiety is going to be a lot more than somebody who uses one. Okay? And the reasoning behind that is psychologists talk about social comparison. What does that mean? You go on your social media feed, you look and see this person is, you know, they've gotten this promotion, they're driving this amazing car, they're doing X, Y, and Z. And then you start to take a look back and you think to yourself, do I measure up? Am I good enough? And it kind of puts you in a state whereby you come out of it not feeling so great about yourself.
Okay.
So,
all right. Okay, we're out of time, but give us just one tip, you know, on health and wellness of being before we wrap
and how
up.
to deal with the stigma of depression.
Okay, just one tip.
On health and, okay. So if you're having issues with depression, the first thing that you need to do is talk to someone. Do not stay isolated and let any of the thoughts kind of suffocate you.
Okay, and that's a fantastic way to end the program. We're going to wrap up right here because we're out of time. Until next time, big ups to my co-anchors, Elsie, Ife, the entire production team, and how on earth can I possibly forget our guest this afternoon, Dr. Nesochi Okeke-Igbokwe. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, it's Tokumbo Taiwo saying goodbye today in Chinese. 再见.
Is it over already?
Yeah, it is.